What's up, everyone? Welcome to Omnipotent Health and Fitness, episode number 5. Our guest today is the epitome of the word transformation. Just 8 years ago, he was self-described as thick, overweight, and extremely unhealthy. He was addicted to food, chewing tobacco, and drank a few beers every single night. However, one day, something inside him clicked, and he began competing in the sport of CrossFit. Committing fully to his goal, he overcame all of his addictions and went on to become a 2 times CrossFit Games champion. So please help me in welcoming one of the fittest people on the planet and who at age 46 can still deadlift more than 10 times his age, Jason Grubb. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yes, I can deadlift 10 times my age. That number is not going to hold at some point.
You know, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think you actually have some more room to
I got some wiggle room. Yeah. And now it'll be like this motivating thing. Like, I guess I'll just have to keep increasing and increasing so that I don't, so that can just be accurate always, perpetually.
Well, you know, if anyone else can do it, it's you. So
I'll give it.
I like to start these conversations getting more background information from people. I used to do CrossFit actually until I moved out to Boston, and it was at the height of COVID and all the CrossFit gyms closed and things like that. And also got a second kid and just ran out of time and starting residency. But the workouts are incredibly intense. And the people who tend to excel at CrossFit are people who had an extremely athletic background. What was your background like as a kid? Were you into a lot of sports? Were you really athletic?
Yeah. When I was a kid, no, I wasn't very athletic as a kid. I wanted to be. I did all the sports that the other kids in my neighborhood did. So I played soccer a little bit of baseball. I wasn't great at either one of those. I ran track when I was in 6th and 7th grade. Nothing special there for sure. And when I was 7th grade through 10th grade, I think, so just a few years there, I took up gymnastics and was actually pretty good at gymnastics and competed locally in gymnastics competitions. And I think that was probably what really stirred up my competitive juices, because I was okay at something. I wasn't great, but I was way better than I was at baseball. And basketball was like out of the question. Like, I just wasn't great at those sports. So this individual sport was something I was okay at. And when I was like in 10th, 11th grade, somewhere right around that time, my aspirations were always, like, well, if I'm going to be a gymnast, I want to go to the Olympics. Like, that was just like this standard feeling. And I realized at some point along the way there that I was just too late. I started too late for that. There was no way I was going to make the Olympics. I was not good enough. And I was, I think, pretty deflated by that, and eventually just kind of fizzled out and stopped doing gymnastics. And that was the last athletic thing that I did really until I was about 38. During those 20 years of inactivity, I did jog. Like, my dad was a runner. My dad would take a jog or run every day. And like, we would wake up for Christmas morning and have to wait to open Christmas presents until Dad went for his run. I don't remember any of this. It drove my mom crazy, apparently. But I did run. You know, I go through seasons where I'd run for a few months and then I'd not run. Then I'd run for a few months. But that's it. I did not have an extensive athletic background.
Gosh, that's so interesting. So then I guess my question is, what sort of clicked at age 38 where you went from this giant gap, it sounds like, from about maybe the end of high school to about 38 years old, and then something inside you clicked? And I can totally attest, I actually did gymnastics as well when I was a kid, and you can tell pretty early on who's sort of got the shot at the Olympics and who doesn't. And I did it for a while. I did it for maybe a decade of my life. But yeah, you can tell when at some point. But so what was it that clicked for you?
Well, there's two parts to the story there. The kind of the humorous side of things, and what got me to start CrossFit literally the week that I started was I was in a season where I was jogging. I mean, it was late summer going into fall. I guess it was November. So as we're going into the fall, I just hate running in cold weather. I absolutely hate it. And the stars aligned right in time. Like I was out to dinner with some friends, and my friend, she just said, hey, my CrossFit gym has a they have a deal. Like she gets a month free if I join, and I get a month free. One of those things. And would I be interested in coming to a class? And all I was thinking was like, it's just too cold to run. I guess I can try this CrossFit class. I'll just try this thing. And the CrossFit class, like I was begrudged. I did not want to go. I was nervous. I didn't want to. I thought I knew what I was doing with regards to fit. Like running is fine. Running will take care of me the rest of my life. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do in this class. Like I had no idea what CrossFit was. I hadn't seen it on TV, nothing. I had absolutely no idea. So I walked in, there's like 3 people in the class. So the awkwardness level was maximum. I couldn't hide in the corner. I'm just me. Go to this class and they have some little strength test, like max pull-ups. Well, I could do one and I felt pretty good. I could do a pull-up, and I had done a pull-up in like 20 years probably, but I could do a pull-up. And so that was some strength thing that they had. And then they had a workout that had handstand push-ups in it. And I was like, I think I could do those. And they're like, you can't. I mean, you can't do a handstand push-up. And I was like, well, I can stand on my hands. I can still walk on my hands. And so I did that, and they were blown away that this 38-year-old thick guy could just kick up to a handstand. Like over the 20 years, I have earned money betting people, like, oh no, I'll bet you $10 I can walk on my hands. So I did earn money that way from hanging out with people. But they thought that was amazing, and that was just enough of a like a stoke to my ego to make me want to come back. Like they thought being able to stand on your hands was amazing, so that feels good. I think I'm going to try this out. And I did the workout there. I don't remember that very first one, or really the feeling. And I didn't even join that gym. It was too far away. So I joined a gym on Monday. That was like a Friday. On the Monday, I went to a gym closer to my house and just went to their class. And day one, the workout was like power cleans and burpees. So I didn't know how to do a power clean with a barbell. So they kind of taught me how to do that really quick, which you don't really learn a power clean really quick, but they taught me how to do a basic movement that looks something like a power clean and burpees. And it was this 3-round workout, and the coach came up to me. It's a big class, and he said, Jason, I think you should probably stop after 2 rounds. This being your first class, let's just see if you can get through 2 rounds. I'm like, nah, I'll see how I feel, but I'll probably do 3 rounds. In my mind, that's what I'm saying. And I don't remember the specifics of the workout, but I just remember like being completely shocked at how absolutely devastated I was. I was wrecked. 2 rounds was a huge stretch for me to actually complete. And there was a woman next to me who I thought was, I mean, I wasn't paying attention, but I thought she was fairly overweight. And she killed me in this workout. Like she's just moving rapid speed. And I'm super confused as what's going on. Like, how am I so unfit? And she's killing me in this thing. So I'm slightly competitive. I found out like a week later, like she was like 7 or 8 months pregnant with twins. So yeah, she was a lady that was crushing me and was carrying twins. It was absolutely insane. And so the humorous side is I had no idea what I was getting into, and I didn't even really want to be there. And I don't need anyone to show me anything. I know what I'm doing. Well, all of that crumbled. I realized like, I don't know anything about fitness. There's people way thicker than me in here, not her, but like other dudes way thicker than me that are way fitter than me. So I was really perplexed and confused. And, I had a 3-month-old. I have older kids. Right now I have a 24-year-old, a 21-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So my 8-year-old was 3 months old at the time. And I had that feeling like, I am not healthy. Like I'm not fit. I want to be a healthy human being for this kid for the next 20 years. And, I'm just devastated in this class. So I want to figure this out. So in fact, I was frustrated at how unfit I was, how fit all of these people were, just everyday moms and dads. This wasn't like a grungy gym in a downtown area. This is literally like the suburbs of Denver. And these are just moms and dads killing me in this workout. So that was that. I immediately jumped in like 6 days a week, because if I ever find a problem that I can't solve myself, I got to figure this out like now, immediately. And so starting CrossFit, it's not great to start 6 days a week and just go all ham on it, just go crazy, which I did. That's just kind of my nature, and I did. Um, but that was the fire. First, I was embarrassed by how unfit I was, and then I found a little bit deeper purpose. Like I just realized how in bad shape I was, and not just bad shape like physically, because I was in physically bad shape, but even just thinking about how I was eating, how I was drinking. There was no way I was ever giving up tobacco. That came later, but it was like looking in a mirror and realizing, like, oh crap, I'm not in a good spot, and I've got a 3-month-old. I'm an old 38-year-old. Is what I felt like, and that lit that fire. And it wasn't competitive yet. I wasn't planning to win the CrossFit Games or anything like that yet. I got to solve this problem. I'm a really unfit, unhealthy human being. And everyone else here, whether they're thick or not, they are way more healthy than I am. So my first step is I got to figure this out. And
Yeah.
in being a competitive CrossFit class, I got to figure out how to beat all these guys, because that's just my nature too. So that was my first agenda was get my spot off of the bottom of the whiteboard and move it up just a few notches.
Right. Absolutely. I find it interesting in your story because you found early wins in that you were able to shock people that you could walk on your hands, being, in your words, a little bit thick at the time. So you got early wins, but then the combination of getting early wins with the combination of embarrassment really seemed to light a fire underneath you, which I find actually extremely fascinating. So after you started going 6 days a week, what was the first sort of habitual change that you noticed? How did you grow from there and build from there?
Yeah, the first change that started to happen was really, I mean, I became more disciplined in when I go to bed, and a little more disciplined in what I was eating and when I was eating. It was this, I kind of bonded with some of the guys in the 9 a.m. class. At that time in my life, I was a wedding photographer running my own business. So I had lots of flexibility and liberty. I could have gone to any class, and 5 a.m. class is never happening. That's out of the question. But the 9 a.m. class was just a group of guys that I connected with and I enjoyed. And so I started going at 9 a.m. every day, except 8 a.m. on Saturday, which still is just too early for me. And I know I'm talking to the wrong audience about weird hours. So I'm just that guy. But yeah, so 9 a.m. every day. So that meant that I would go to bed at a certain time so that I could get up and eat a decent meal before going to work out at 9 and selling my soul at the gym. I mean, just really crushing it. And then eating again at noon and then working through the afternoon. It just became this rhythm for me, right? And I think that's one of the things that happens for me, when I find something that I really enjoy, I generally tend to create a routine, a rhythm around it. And in this case, the benefit was like, well, now I'm eating a breakfast that's not cereal, because I did start to pay attention a little bit. At the time, I was like, maybe looking into a little bit about nutrition. I didn't know anything. All I knew is that a giant bowl of cereal before a CrossFit class it was just a bomb of sugar. It's not okay. And it wasn't like I was eating I wasn't eating Lucky Charms for breakfast, but I would have a huge bowl of grape nuts with a couple scoops of sugar on it. That was my breakfast for 10 years, 20 years. I thought I was eating the healthiest breakfast possible with a little sugar. But I switched that up to eating like eggs and broccoli. That's just what I ate for breakfast every day for another 5 years after that. And it made me more consistent. I'd get done with the CrossFit class, come home, eat lunch, work through the afternoon, go to bed by 9 or 10 so that I could be up by 7, eat breakfast, go to CrossFit class. And I did that every day. And it became a rhythm. And again, it's my nature to find a rhythm in something or a pattern. Once I establish kind of a routine, it's just my nature to stick to that. But that cascade effect, that domino effect, over time had me starting to give up eating like a PB&J for lunch, because it didn't feel right. And even though I didn't know a lot about nutrition, I knew I needed something a little bit more dense for lunch. So I'd often have whatever we had for left. If we had chicken for dinner the night before, I'd have chicken for lunch. I wasn't trying to make grand changes yet, but I was sort of evolving to like, if I'm going to expend this much energy and sell my soul at the gym for an hour a day, I'm not going to like waste it on everything else except beers at night. Like that took a long time, to go away. I was
Right.
pretty stuck there. And also I just figured like, well, I'm working out so much in the morning, I'm eating healthy, 3-4 beers, no big deal.
That's right. You rationalize it 100%. It's funny
100%.
when you talk to people from a certain generation, I think I'm actually grouped in on there as well, where the food pyramid used to be where carbohydrates was just literally, it was like the base, and it still sort of is
Yes.
to an extent. And
Yeah.
we really got it very extremely wrong in that regards, but you can't blame people who are, grew up eating that way, thinking that that was healthy. All the
Yes.
commercials were saying it was healthy. The labels on it say it's healthy, zero cholesterol, all this stuff. So you think you're eating healthy,
Yep.
you're not. But
100%.
it's interesting that you
Yeah.
had this insight within you to just feel that something was off when you were having the cereal. Is this something that you developed, or
Yeah.
just you were able to pick up on it on your own?
I think two things happened. One, I couldn't figure out why whenever I had cereal for breakfast, I was literally ready to go to bed at 10, 11 a.m. I'd have this overwhelming tiredness every morning. And this was before CrossFit, because after CrossFit, I was tired at 11 a.m., but it was a different tired. And I had a friend that I think used the word glycemic index with me. And I didn't know what it meant when he said it. So I deep dove into the glycemic index and realized that, a bowl of grape nuts, glycemic index is, I don't even remember anything about the glycemic index now, or like where the ratings are, but super high, like high sugar, right? And I just realized like, well, if I could just calm everything down and go with foods that are lower on the glycemic index, my body is just going to have more of a consistent energy. This was kind of what I read online in 2015. And I kind of got that idea. And I want to say that I deeply researched it, but I did not. I probably read something more basic than a Wikipedia article on it. And I was like, well, I'm changing my life. I am not eating cereal anymore. Telling my wife, you can throw out all the cereal, all the sugar. I'm done eating all of that stuff. Except like the only time that I really started to lose my ability to control kind of how I was eating was after 4 or 5 o'clock at night. I would still eat whatever was for dinner. And a lot of that still included a lot of higher glycemic type thing. Lots of grains was a big part of my life. And then of course, beers around that time. So I'd have this window of amazingness from 7 a.m. to like 4 or 5 p.m. And then just kind of like, well, it's evening time. It doesn't matter anymore. This window of like, now I'm going to eat whatever I want because I'm just going to go to bed. I don't care if I'm tired. So it was just this slight, it was a big change based on something I kind of read online, but what I noticed was when I made that change throughout the day, I had all the energy I ever needed. It was crazy. And I didn't intend to go low carbohydrate. I was fairly low carbohydrate. I caught up on all the carbs in the evening, but I was fairly low carbohydrate through the day, and my energy was consistent. And again, all of this was with very little research. This was just kind of trial and error, and someone mentioning the glycemic index, and I'm just like going to take that and run with it, based on I don't know, probably the most high school written article on the internet possible, but I just went with it.
How much was it? Can they say that you're the average of the 5 people or the 5 ideas that you spend your most time with. How much was it the effect of, CrossFit, oftentimes you go to a box, it's an amazing community, and you just kind of drink the Kool-Aid, and then you all sort of start living a healthier lifestyle. Do you think that played any part of it?
Yeah, for sure. Now that you mention it, the owner of the gym that I went to in my first year, I looked up to this guy. He was 10 years older than me, and the fittest human being I've ever known. Like, I could not believe what he could do. It was absolutely crazy. And of course, the competitor in me just wanted to be as fit as that guy. If I could get as fit as Keith, I didn't have a conclusion to that sentence. It was just, I just want to be as fit as Keith. If I could just be, and then really within 9 months, I left that gym at about the 11-month mark. Just over 12 months, I left that gym to open my own gym, because I was in love with this thing. I drank the Kool-Aid and then to open my own gym. But by that 1 year mark, I was beating everybody in the gym in workouts. I was beating Keith. And but that him and his wife, they were great. I became kind of part of their inner circle in the gym. We had talked before and after class, and they were definitely a huge influence on me. Like they lived the epitome of a healthy lifestyle. So I didn't even understand their lifestyle of like why. I mean, they didn't drink because it wasn't that they didn't care. I mean, I guess they would have a glass of wine from time to time, but they lived just a super healthy lifestyle and were super fit as well. In my mind, it was just this model of like, oh, okay. So those two kind of go hand in hand, like eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle and being ridiculously fit. And he was a lifetime guy. Like he'd been fit his whole life. So it was a big influence on me. And when I set sail on my own gym, I lost him as a mentor. You know, now I'm 5 miles away, so I was kind of a competitor, and so we're not super friendly anymore. And I didn't mean for that. Just the gym I bought was just down the street, or 5 miles down the street. But still, the community's still small. So I had to sort of find other mentors as I was by myself in my own gym, and that was when I got my CrossFit certifications. Then I just jumped. I didn't know. I found out more about CrossFit after I decided to open a CrossFit gym when I got my certifications in 5 different things. And I was like, oh, that's why all of this works. It was kind of like when I was in college. When I was in high school, I learned to play the guitar. I learned to play the piano by sound. I can't read music, but I could play by ear,
Wow.
both those instruments. And then I took a music theory class when I was in college. And I was like, oh, music theory. This is why all of this works on these instruments. It made all this chaos make sense. And it was when I got my certifications in CrossFit and training and all that. I was like, oh, that's why workouts are like this. That's why they put these certain elements together. That's what this whole nutrition thing is all about. And now CrossFit as a brand or as an educational model, that became my source of information at that point. Prior to that, it was just Keith and Stace. Like, what are they doing? They seem to be eating well. I guess I'm just going to try to emulate them and not tell anyone that I'm still drinking like 4 beers a night. I'm just going to keep that under the table.
I definitely want to go there as well. It's a very interesting observation that I'm making is it seems like you're the type of person that just kind of jumps into something first and then figures out how that worked in retrospect, which is actually really cool. You know, your music playing and also with CrossFit and your transformation, which I find really interesting. I do want to jump on one thing that you mentioned. You know, you lost your mentor in Keith. Did you which mentors did you turn to at that point? Was it online? Did you consume other people's content? What did that look like?
Yeah, I did. I started consuming a lot of content that was published by CrossFit. So that was really helpful because I was just now I'm a gym owner that has no idea how to be a coach, no idea how to run a gym, no idea how to have staff. So I didn't have staff for 6 months. It was just me running this gym, and it was from scratch. I mean, we had no members. I bought a building that had equipment in it, and that's literally what I did. But I did hire a mentor. Probably my 3rd month in, I found one online and hired a mentor in the CrossFit affiliate space. So I met with him once a month. That was very helpful to help create some structure for me. And honestly, my second hire, the second coach that I hired, she came to the gym. She was a member, but she had worked in the athletic department at a large college. So she had been a assistant athletic director in a large college. So she had this just administrative background and was a very intelligent human being. So she wanted to be a coach. I hired her on as a coach. Then she ended up becoming my gym manager. And I learned a lot from how she approached coaching and how she approached classes. It was really funny. Just like, I mean, I was supposed to be like the boss, the mentor, but really I was just kind of learning via osmosis because for a season, she was just really great at creating an organization in a space I had no idea. And yes, I totally did that like ready, fire, aim type situation in opening a gym. I had no idea what I was doing. But by the first year or within the first 2 years, like we had a good gym and a good staff and a good team. And we had a really good thing going, like helping people, moms and dads in just the suburbs of Denver get healthy. But that became, for me, I did have to hire a mentor. I believe in hiring mentors. So hiring a mentor, now that I'm so deep in this thing that I have no idea what I'm doing, it made sense for me to hire a mentor. I felt really underwater. He was super helpful. And then, of course, building the staff, I learned a lot through trial and error, which is not always the best. Hiring more mentors would be a better option, and like learning from already created systems, that would be great. I wish that I did that more in life, but generally I just plow into something, like dive in head first and like, okay, I guess we're gonna figure this out. And that's more my nature. And once I'm like in the middle of something and I really don't know what I'm doing, then I get help. I ask for help.
It's amazing that you actually had the insight and had your ego in check enough to, when you hired somebody, to realize that you can still learn from them, even though, like you said, you're supposed to be the mentor and the owner and all this stuff. But that's an incredible trait, and I'm sure a large reason for your success. So shifting towards going from casual CrossFitter to competitive CrossFitter to games athlete, what were the habits that changed? How did you cultivate that? Were you following your own programming? How did you structure that?
Great question. So I discovered that I could be a CrossFit Games athlete when, at some point, I mean, this was well after I owned my own gym, and I knew I could never compete with Rich, the 24-year-old elite athletes. Rich Froning and some of the big names there. Like that was just. They were just amazing. But I found out, like I didn't know this, but I found out that CrossFit had age group categories above age 40 at that time, and they dropped that to 35. So they have these age group categories, which levels the playing field, because as we age, our capacity does diminish. So now we're competing with people within that capacity, which is great. And I discovered that, and maybe I was 39, late in my 39s, when I was like, oh, I turned 40 this year, I can compete with these 40-year-olds. Okay, well, I'm young, I'm 40. This is the youngest I'll be in this 40 to 44-year-old age group. Let's give it a go, So I was just following. At the time, I was at that time in my gym. So I programmed for my gym for about 6 months and realized that at the time there were some companies that were offering programming. You could buy programming for your gym, and it was well-rounded by programmers that had been doing this for decades or years at least. And I was absolutely the kind of person that wants to outsource and get the best for my clients. So I was following that programming, and it was fine. I tried to qualify for the games as a 40-year-old. Like I did the CrossFit Open, and then they have an age group qualifier after that, and then you go to the CrossFit Games. So I did the CrossFit Open, and I had done the Open 2 years before. This was my third Open, so I was excited for it. This is like it's a really big time of year in the CrossFit world. That I did it, and I made it to the top 200 in my age group. The top 200 got to move on to this age group qualifier, which is like 5 workouts released over a weekend, and you have to do them and video them, submit them to CrossFit. And I got, I don't know, 80th or 90th, and you need to be top 20 to go to the CrossFit Games. So I was a little bit disappointed, but also I felt okay about 80th place in the world in my age category, but still, like 60 more places is like an eternity. It's a huge gap between their capacity and my capacity. So I started following CompTrain. So CompTrain is
Ben Bergeron.
Ben Bergeron.
I've got Ben Bergeron coming on tomorrow, actually.
Oh my gosh, he's great. So he's brilliant. He's a brilliant human being. I followed CompTrain. That's his program for the elite athletes. He offered it for free at the time, and it was for like CrossFit Games athletes. So I just jumped into that. I grabbed a couple of young guys in my gym. I'm like, hey guys, you want to do this training with me? 4 or 5 hours, not 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, 3 to 4 hours a day of just killing yourself. So we did that for that following year. And at age 41, I'm like, I am as fit as I'm going to be. Go through the CrossFit Open, go through the age group qualifier, and I landed like 42nd place. still need to be top 20. And I'm so frustrated because I really devoted that year to all of this crazy amount of volume and training. And, I was just close enough that I could taste it. Like, I have an opportunity here. I would love to. I'm the fittest in the gym. I'm one of the fittest, people in Denver, in Colorado, but I'm still 20 spots out. And I was frustrated. So 2 things happened after age 41, going into age 42. I qualified for the CrossFit Games when I was 42. So I didn't go to the CrossFit Games at age 41. I was sad. I actually went out to watch the CrossFit Games that year. It was in Madison. The first year was in Madison. Went to watch the CrossFit Games, and I couldn't even go watch the Masters athletes compete. I was so salty. I was so sad that I hadn't qualified myself. I couldn't even go watch them. I didn't even go to the pavilion where the Masters athletes competed. I only watched the elite athletes. But I made 2 changes that summer. One, I switched to CompTrain Masters. So they had 2 tracks. They had the CompTrain, which is free. CompTrain Masters was like $20 a month or something. So I bought that, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to follow a master's program for a year. Whatever it says, I'm going to do. And I started following that, and the volume was significantly decreased. I was not killing myself every day. I was not, it was hard work, but I wasn't dying. So, okay, that was the first change. The second change, that summer, age 41, going into 42, I read a book called Wheat Belly, right? And then a follow-up book called Undoctored by Will Davis, I guess is the author's name. But Wheat Belly is just that idea that basically grain is the absolute epitome of awfulness for human beings. I mean, that's really what he's saying. And that's fine. But I took it to heart. I was like, okay, let's try this. Let's try no grain. So no grain whatsoever. That is when I stopped drinking beer. It wasn't because I was a quasi-alcoholic at the time. It was because beer has grain in it. Beer's made from grain. So I'm out of the whole thing. And I actually lost a little bit of weight, but more of it was body fat. My body fat percentage dropped significantly because now, instead of eating any kind of starches, I'm eating vegetables and sweet potatoes to replace all of these grain carbohydrates. And I just went for it. Like, again, kind of situation, like I read a book, I'm like, I'm all in. I'm never having grain again. And I felt great. And my body responded to probably eating a much healthier lifestyle. I'm not convinced on grain now, but I still minimize grain because I find myself eating healthier ingredients to get enough carbohydrates a day when I don't eat bread and I don't eat pastas, those kinds of things, bagels, all that. But lighter training, healthier eating, following year, going into age 42, I qualified. I snuck in 17th to go to the CrossFit Games, 17th, and went to the games at age 42. And I went there. I just wanted to not be terrible. I was so nervous. I remember the first event. I was so nervous. We can talk about that, but I ended up getting 3rd place that year, trying not to be awful. And all of a sudden now I've got this identity change inside of me. Like, oh, wow, I am a legit games athlete. I'm okay. I'm okay at this. I'm going back. I want to go back.
That is so cool. I think something I want to highlight, which I find extremely interesting, is you actually decreased your workload when you switched to CompTrain Masters. And in a way, you decreased your energy intake. Sometimes when you eat too much carbs, you're overeating. And so it's interesting that you subtracted 2 things. You subtracted how much you were working out, and you subtracted essentially the energy input, and yet your performance output improved. And so just wanted to highlight that that's something that can happen to all of us. You're overworking yourself or certain things like that. So I find that extremely fascinating. And then you mentioned identity at the end, and I want to kind of tie this into your story about identity statements and overcoming chewing tobacco. And if we could also thread the needle with that, and what were the micro changes that you made going from 3rd place to 1st place?
Yeah. So it was after I qualified for the games at age 42, I qualified, and I was living in an apartment at the time, and I was sitting in the hot tub at the apartment, which was the best thing. like apartment hot tubs are great. So outside, it's like March and the hot tub is just boiling hot, it's freezing out. And I am enjoying a glass of wine, a little glass of wine, because I was very excited having qualified. And I had a piece of tobacco in, and I just remember just sitting there just thinking like, I'm a CrossFit Games athlete. Wow. I'm a CrossFit Games athlete. This is amazing. And just kind of relishing in it. Like I finally did it. I can't believe it. Can't believe I'm going to go to the games. And so these little tobacco pouches, they're called bandits. They're little pouches. It's not loose. It's little, you just toss the packet in the trash. And I was literally getting ready to put a new one in. Just literally the thought occurred to me that a CrossFit Games athlete doesn't chew tobacco. And it was a statement in my head that just hit. I was like, okay. So I threw the can away it was like literally right there next to the hot tub. Instead of putting a new one in, I threw the can away. And I'd thrown the can away a number of times in 10 years of chewing tobacco. I had quit a number of times, only to go right back to it the next day, literally go and buy another can and just be relieved. So remember, and this was not easier. The mind shift had changed. But now I had a rudder, I had a purpose, I had a direction. There's a reason why I'm quitting now. So before I quit because I know I don't want to have mouth cancer in like 10 years. I don't want that. That makes sense. But it didn't have this tangible, it wasn't as tangible as in my mind, just a CrossFit Games athlete doesn't chew tobacco. This is just not something that I should be doing. I want to do well, and I want to align myself with doing really well at this one specific goal, and this doesn't seem to fit. Now, the reality is, I'm sure there's dozens of CrossFit Games athletes that chew tobacco. I think there's athletes in everything that chew tobacco. But for me, that was a catalyst for me. I decided that, I chose that, and day one was awful. Like day two was awful. I wanted to go back so badly, but after a week, I was good. And then 2 weeks, I was good. And so I shook it. And literally, when I would go like camping with my brother-in-law, it's an annual backpacking trip that we do. We would always take a pipe, an old school tobacco pipe, and we would just, or smoke a cigar. So like, I'm not touching any of that because I have a propensity for addiction like nothing else. So I cannot touch it, look at it. I'm out of the tobacco world. And it was just this shift. And I've created enough distance now that I don't have any desire for that. But yeah, it was tough, but it was based on that mental shift. But then I still had to do the work of, no, I'm not going to buy a can. And no, I'm not even going to drive by the gas station where I know they carry the specific kind that I like. Every time I'm in, and I still drive by that gas station now. I'm like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one that always carried. They knew me when I walked in. They would literally have it on the counter for me. The other micro changes that came following the CrossFit Games in 2018 into 2019 when I won is I did determine that my training was still reduced compared to what I was doing before. So I had an appropriate amount of training, but I was under eating. So not only was I did drop in my caloric intake, but then I started to pay attention to what I was eating. I actually tracked macronutrients. I tracked my eating for a couple of days and realized like, oh, I'm grossly under eating for my activity. Like I'm a coach at the gym. I'm on my feet 4 or 5 hours a day, and I'm training like 2.5, 3 hours a day tops. But that training is pretty intense. So I actually increased my eating. So I increased healthy eating, to about 32. I was eating around 2,400 calories a day, which for a guy that's 5'8", 185 pounds at the time, doing the activity I was doing, it was not enough food. So over that time, I increased my eating, and it was so hard to eat that many more calories every day. I was full. I was nervous. I thought I was going to get fat. I was really afraid of that. And I found that like my performance increased dramatically. Like, it was absolutely insane. The increase in my performance. And I've continued that, still eating like 3,200 calories a day now, because I found that sweet spot on what I should be eating, how much protein, how much carbs, how much fats every day to fuel my life and the volume that I do.
So it sounds like you increased your caloric intake, which was kind of like the micro change that sort of pushed you over the top. And I think it's important to highlight that all of us need to have sort of an N of one mentality for our own lives. While, broadly, we can say that, on average, maybe 2000 calories, give or take. But for somebody like you and an elite athlete, definitely needs to increase your
Yes.
caloric amounts that you're taking in. And so I guess shifting gears a little bit, out of curiosity, sort of what is your day-to-day like now? Are you, are you still maintaining your 2 to 3 hours of workouts every day and still eating the same thing, or have you shifted that since the first time you were at the CrossFit Games?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me know if I'm coming through clearly. I reconnected my Wi-Fi. I think we're good.
Yeah, I think it sounds great.
Okay, so yeah, now my business is online, so I can complete my work whenever I want, and I try to keep that work pretty flexible. So my training is twice a day. I generally have 2 sessions. I follow Mayhem programming now. I made a change about a year and a half ago. Just wanted to experience a different style of programming, and again, my general take, and when I talk with my clients are generally CrossFit masters athletes looking to go to the CrossFit Games. It doesn't matter what you follow. There's such good programs out there with Ben Bergeron's programs, Rich Froning's programs, a half a dozen other programs. As long as you follow it consistently, you're probably getting really well-rounded training. For me, now I'm training in 2 sessions. I have about an hour and a half to 2-hour session midday, and then about an hour session late afternoon. So I've developed a rhythm in the way I do things. I get up, I normally do calls like this or anything like this in the morning, eat my breakfast, drink plenty of coffee, which is half decaf. I just love coffee. I just love it. And then I eat lunch, go to the gym, do some training, have an afternoon snack, finish training again, huge dinner, and move on into the evening. The volume is not changed. The volume is just broken up into 2 pieces now. I've found that I can crush a training session or in the early afternoon, have a snack or almost another meal in the afternoon, a little bit of recovery, and then crush another session after that. So by breaking that apart, it's really made my training much more efficient. And over the last year, actually, about a year ago, got this idea to sell the house, buy an RV, and travel for 3 months to the CrossFit Games in an RV. So all of my training leading to the CrossFit Games in 2021, where I won, was done in campsites for 3 months.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on YouTube, and I thought that was incredible. But it seemed like to me this theme of just going for it, just jumping right in, just incredible.
Yes. Ask me if I've ever towed anything. I've never towed anything in my life. And I bought a truck. I drove to Wyoming and bought a 45-foot RV. And the first time I ever towed a vehicle, it was my new house, and it weighed 20,000 pounds. And that was my first experience. So yeah,
did you bring?
They should have a light.
Did you bring the wife and kids?
I was gonna say you should have to have a license to do that. But yeah, everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Kids, everything. Everyone was on the road. 2 dogs.
Being a dad myself, I'm curious. What are sort of like the health and fitness cues that you're starting to develop in your kids?
They watch.
Okay.
They love to see what I'm doing. They've gotten to come and watch me in competitions, and my older kids, because I always have to think of them in 2 different categories. So my oldest son is 21, and he's in training to be a first responder. So we have I have a rental house in Denver that has a garage, but the garage is not rented out. The garage is full of fitness equipment from when I sold my gym. So it's a CrossFit gym in a garage. And multiple days a week, my son goes to the garage to train, and he just follows one of my programs. So for him, training to be a first responder and being a healthy, fit 21-year-old is just ingrained in him. He just does it on his own, on autopilot. It's amazing. Last year, after the CrossFit Games, I was coaxed by my 20-year-old son into signing up for a half Ironman triathlon. So after the game, he had trained for it all summer last year. After the CrossFit Games, I went into 5 weeks of training for this triathlon. We were going to do this together. It was a huge, huge thing. I'm not a swimmer. Like, these are not my gifts. A CrossFit athlete generally is not a triathlete, but we went for it. The day before the race, he tests positive for COVID. So he's out. And I got to do this stupid race by myself. And it was amazing. And I'm going to do it again this year. And we're going to plan to do another triathlon after the CrossFit Games this year. But that is so rewarding, honestly, that I asked him a couple of weeks ago. I was like, hey, do you want to do another triathlon in September? He's like, absolutely. Where are we going to do it? I'm like, okay, well, there's dozens of them around the country. We will find one and we're going to do one. And I look forward to it. So that's something that's just built into him, baked into him, which is really cool. And I didn't even start CrossFit until he was 12. So that's kind of his story. And my younger kids, they always ask me, like, if I'm traveling anywhere for any reason, Dad, are you going to the CrossFit Games? Not yet, guys. No, that's not till later. Well, that's not till later. But they got to be there. They got to see that. I got to finish my final event with a win at the CrossFit Games and really high five my sons just right there in the stands. Really amazing experience. And when I'm training and when I was on the road with them, I'd be in the middle of a workout and they would just come over and just do like 20 burpees and say, Dad, okay, we did our workout. We're going to go, play with our iPads or something. So they're young, but I think as a dad, I have plenty of faults, and my faults in the sense of like how I do jump in head first to everything without figuring it and then figure it out. Like, that's not the best strategy in life, but so they're learning that from me and hopefully going to take some lessons on how to not do things. But on the other hand, I think they are picking up just that being healthy and being fit and being strong is a nice quality. My 8-year-old always asks me in public, Dad, are you stronger than that guy? I'm like, dude, we don't say that. I mean, yeah, probably stronger than that guy, but not that guy. That guy is stronger. That guy I can run faster than that guy. But it is fun being able to have them interact with me in that way.
Yeah, that's the beauty of CrossFit, right? If you can't say that you're stronger than them, likely you're probably faster than them, or vice versa.
Yes, I can run faster. It's easy. Yeah.
That's very cool. I had a lot of fun with this, but I want to leave time for the Q&A at the end. Before I ask my final question, where can everybody find you, follow your work?
I'm on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way to find me, Instagram or YouTube, or just simple enough, Google Jason Grubb and my website will pop up. That's it. Just Google Jason Grubb with 2 B's. I have a YouTube channel that has a lot of how-to videos, as well as just a lot of sort of vlogging and sharing my life and my adventures and how I approach workouts. I try to be really transparent around my strengths and my failures on the YouTube channel. Instagram as well, I try to be fairly transparent. It's at Jason Grubb_fitness on Instagram. But really, if you Google me, all the things will show up first. So there's not a lot of Jason Grubbs out there.
Absolutely. That's actually what I did to find you as well. So for my final question, if you had a magic genie and your one wish could help all of humanity and you could make everybody adopt one lifestyle modification that could best improve their health, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Wow. Gosh, even though I may have not said it, eating the appropriate amount of food for my lifestyle, whatever my lifestyle is, has been the biggest change in my life. It's been as far as improving my overall existence, eating the correct amount of food for my lifestyle and having that be generally healthy food has had the biggest impact on everything else in my life, from sleep to training to my overall energy to relationships. Eating, and from a lot of people, and it's the last thing I'll say about it, but for a lot of people, particularly athletes, we generally undereat. And so eating enough food, for me, it was life-changing to start eating enough food when I finally figured that out. Yeah, that's what I would love for almost everyone, just to be able to eat enough food to support their lives, and have that not necessarily be in the form of cereal and pizza and beer. We just get rid of those three. We're probably pretty good.
Absolutely. I love that. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining live on our stream here. If you haven't already, make sure to follow Jason on Instagram. His YouTube channel is amazing, and he has amazing content on there as well. So until next time, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jason.